Are live. Hobbypalooza 2022. I think you guys know the gentleman that I'm here with,
I'm
Mr.
new here.
Carlos. I
It's my
think
first day on
he,
the job.
I think that this is going to be what your first live stream ever, Carlos,
Oh,
right?
like ever. I don't
Yeah,
even know what YouTube is yet.
yeah.
I was just told to show up or I'd get fined.
You're totally a newbie at this, so everybody, just kind of take it easy on
Please.
Carlos.
Please.
A couple of things just right off the bat. Mike has mentioned this earlier, but they are doing super chats today for signatures for soldiers. The money's going to go to them, and you're going to be entered into drawings for some cool boxes from Panini that they had donated. I think the best box that Mike showed us was a Prism football hobby box. Which what are those at these days, Carlos? Are they like 1,500?
They were like 1,500. I don't remember where they've gotten to, but they were getting up there.
So that would be a pretty cool one to win, right?
Yeah.
I, I mean, I
That,
wouldn't I wouldn't mind that. And then the second thing I was going to mention is Mike has had to step away for a little while, and he has been posting the comments onto the screen. Like Carlos and I will still be able to see the comments. So
yeah.
if you guys have any questions, and then we'll try to mention it. Like if anybody puts a super chat in, that would be much appreciated. And but let's go ahead and just kind of dive right in, Carlos. How's it going today, man?
It's going good. It's going good. Despite what we just said, did the live stream last night, so we had another short one. Slow news week, so we didn't have much to talk about. But no, it's been fun. Big and busy at work. Unfortunately, summer's kicked in, so now we're in a little bit of humidity. So we talked about when we chatted earlier previously that you were already hot there over there on your side of the woods. So now it's starting to creep up here. You can feel the humidity kicking in once
Yeah.
we flip the switch. Now it's time.
Yeah, and for anyone out there familiar with Carlos's live streams, we have already been warned that there will be an hour time limit for us today. Like,
I didn't agree to this.
what's the longest live stream that you've done?
Like 7.5, 7.5 hours.
7.5 hours,
Yeah.
nonstop.
Mhm.
And when was the last time that you didn't have a live stream in a week?
The last time I did have a live stream in a week was early October 2020. So it's the longest running episodic, whatever the hell it is that I do on Fridays.
Whatever it is, it's been going for several years, right?
It continues on. It just keeps rolling forward. And did the Christmas one, did a New Year's Eve one, invited some folks on. That was fun. Even had a cameo from Carlos Senior on I think the Christmas one, so people got to see Carlos Senior and my younger brother,
I
Roberto
need to go back
Carlos.
and watch that one. I
Yeah,
didn't catch that one.
yeah. So you
I'll
got
get
actually
that.
got three Carloses. You got Carlos Senior, and Roberto Carlos, my younger brother.
Okay,
So
very
three
cool.
Carloses because we're not creative whatsoever.
So, so I see James Elite Hunter said 7.5 hours. Wow. Okay.
Hmm. Yeah.
So we've got Ray, I Collect Ichiro in the chat, Scotty Tradition, Lou Rock, Reese, Tom Bullard, Wade Boggs fan. So we'll try to catch the comments when we can, guys. Like I was saying when we first started, like since Mike is out he had to step out for a few minutes, he's been putting the comments up on the screen, so we
Yep.
can still see them, but we just can't post them.
Yeah, basically, we don't control the channel, so we can't click the button, but we can definitely see you here. So we can see your comments as they come in, but we can't click on them to show them on the screen.
Right. And any complaints about that should be you can write or send messages to Bench Clear Media. No, I'm just playing. So Carlos, let's dive into some stuff here. We talked a little bit before the show, and I was telling you that one of the things that has been brought to my attention, it was just a random friend of mine, and they had mentioned that they were a sports fan and they were kind of interested into getting into cards, and
Mhm.
they knew that I was a card collector, so they had some questions for me.
Mhm.
And the first question was, they're like, okay, I'm a big fan of player X, right? And I want to get his rookie card. So what is this guy's rookie card? And I was like, well, I mean, he probably has about 300 or 400 different rookie cards, especially you count in all the different parallels and stuff. I mean, it could be even higher. I don't know.
Yeah. Somewhere in the distance, Victor's ears are burning right now, but yes.
Yeah. And I mean, so he was like, well, okay. And then he's like, well, where would I go to buy a rookie of him? I was like, well, there's eBay, ComC, MySlabs, BWCC. There are all these different places, right? So he's
Mhm.
like, okay. And then finally he's like, I've heard of grading too, like, because I'd probably want to get it graded. Where would I go to get it graded? And I was like, well, there's another dozen or so grading companies. So I think one of the issues that as a hobby we face with getting newer people that want to get involved is it's gotten pretty complicated, right? Would you agree with
Mhm.
that?
Yeah. I think one of the things that, so I definitely agree with that. I think one of the things that unfortunately those of us who have been around a while, we kind of lost sight of it because we saw the gradual change over time.
Yeah.
But it was weird because we had this, we had a couple different shifts, right? We started off with kind of the simpler, you start late 80s, early 90s. Yes, you had more companies now. You had tops for a really long time until 81. Then you add a couple more companies into it. They start doing these little side sets and things. But relatively speaking, it's still straightforward. Like it's a handful. It's not like a crazy number. And then as you get into the 90s, you get into the late 90s, 2000s, start to ratchet up. You start getting more brands. You start getting all these other little things. Even in the 90s, you had things like Scoreboard and some of these other ones that came out with the stuff. It's like, what is that? It's like, well, it's another brand. It's another set. We've always had a little bit of complexity, but I don't think we've ever reached quite the point that it's quite matrixy. Although, I will say when it comes to parallels and stuff, I do have a little bit of fun with what Panini does with their parallels because it's still not as bad as Topps Tech. Because if you remember that Topps Tech issue in their late 90s, they had 99, I think it was 99 copies of one card, and
Yeah.
then the diffractors. I think it was called
Yes.
diffractors, something like that. And then you've got another set of those. So in reality, I think it was 198 of each card.
Yeah.
So Panini still has some work to do before, you're going to need some more animal prints to get to 198.
Yeah, my friend Michael, he collects those Topps Tech, the different patterns.
Mm-hmm.
I think he does it for both. Well, maybe he just does it for Scott Rowland, but I think he does it for maybe him and Nomar Garcia Parra. And yeah, it's a beast, right? I mean, it's just so many different patterns, and it's hard to tell the difference on some of them, honestly, even when you have them in hand.
I think that's still the apex, and fortunately, we're back. We're pulled back from that because that's about as bad as it gets. They're obviously creeping up back towards it, but hopefully they don't get to quite that level because I don't think anybody wins if you get anywhere near close to that again.
Yeah. Did you see your guy Eric's comment here in the chat?
Well, no, I did see it, and I thought like specifically, do I have to watch this? Well, Eric's a bit of a noob. He thinks the Boston Bruins are an actual franchise, so like he doesn't even know about sports. So he should watch if nothing else to learn about sports, let alone collecting cards.
What
He
is
needs
up,
help.
Eric?
He needs help.
He needs help.
Oh my god.
So getting back to this little thing we're talking about here, as far as the complexity of it, like what are some possible solutions that we could do as longtime collectors that would kind of maybe help ease some of these people into it?
Sure. So I want to just acknowledge I Collect Ichiro. Thank you for the super chat, and also that 70s Card Show. Thank you for the super chat as well. So kind of playing into your question, I think right now the best advice you can give is to try not to answer everything, not try to give the whole breadth. It's almost like it's like trying to drink from a hose. Well, don't right now it's not even only a hose, it's fire hose. So you know what, maybe the idea is maybe don't stand them in front of the hose and then turn it on and just say here you go, good luck. Even if you're trying to provide some guidance, it's still a lot. It might be simpler to be like, hey, why don't we just narrow down kind of what you like, because the research portion of it can help you narrow it down, because nobody can collect everything anymore. It's impossible. As a player collector, you have to accept you can't have everything anymore. As a team collector, you have to accept you can't have everything anymore. Like, you have to, it's more important, even the rookie thing. If you want to stick to rookies, great. We know we've got that weird issue with, oh, they've got the rookie card logo, they don't have the rookie card logo. It's like, you know what? Let's just make it easy. My idea would be like, let's just see what you like. What player do you like? What do you prefer? Let's look at some of these. Tell me which one you think looks the coolest, and then we'll start there. Let's funnel it down and then actually get a little understanding on this, and then we can expand upon it after you kind of figured it out a little bit over here.
Yeah, and I thought about that after I'd had this discussion with him. I was thinking to myself, I was like, man, I really laid a lot of information on him really quickly.
It's too much. You can't do it. Like, you got to start small and then start here. Just start over here, and then I'll open up the rest of the room for you after you figure this piece out.
It is so much. Yeah. Yeah. Otto, yes, Michael is double X the beast. Charles, hey Charles, what's up? He says I need help.
He does. He doesn't need help.
Yeah,
There's no question about that.
Yeah. Yeah. Lou Rock say just give enough information as to not deter or overwhelm. Yeah, that's good.
Yep.
Start
Absolutely.
with base, flagship, broaden the horizons. That's another good one.
Mm-hmm.
So when we talk about like all of these, different things that are coming into the hobby, and this is more for, I guess, the people that have been in it for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Have we gotten to the point to where there's becoming too many newer hobby businesses, let's say, and have we gotten to the point to where the actual needs and wants of collectors slash customers are being ignored, and they're just kind of like throwing stuff and just hoping that it sticks, basically?
So yeah, a lot of it. Once the money became, there's always a delayed reaction when a market suddenly has a bunch of money flushed into it. People see that
Yeah,
money, they're looking at it, and they're saying to themselves, "Okay, how can we get a piece of this?" The problem is building a business takes a certain amount of time. So you might have an idea right at the beginning of the boom, and then it's just now it's starting to manifest itself. The problem is a lot of other people thought of the same idea, and maybe they were a little
yeah,
quicker. So what you're seeing right now is this cascading effect of all these businesses coming out. It's like, well, why would you make this business? There's already three of those doing that. Well, the problem is they were just a little quicker on the draw. Actually,
right,
all of you had the similar idea right around the same time, and you were just a little bit slow. But now you're the fifth person to do almost the exact same thing. Now we have too many. So now we
yeah,
have all these categories where we got too much competition, and it actually fractures the market. And everybody's sitting there going like, okay, so which one do you use? The example of the platforms. I like having multiple platforms because some of them are better for certain things than others. But at a certain point, you have too much of a good thing, and now it's like I can't watch 20 websites simultaneously. Like I can't keep track of all of these, even though I know what I'm doing. I can navigate real quick and eyeball these things, but it's still too many to track all at once.
yeah. And I see more and more of these type of businesses coming into the market, let's say. And the problem, or let's not even say problem, but let's just say their target audience might be people that have kind of already exited the hobby
Mhm.
over the last, just from the time that they came up with the idea until it actually came to fruition. Does that
Yeah,
make sense?
yeah, no, absolutely. That's why I said that's why I gave that piece about the delayed reaction is that it's not that the market wasn't there when they conceived of the idea and started developing it. It's that it came and went. We had the big rise, and then we've had the move downward. And however long it takes for us to continue moving down and restabilize and find our new level, our new footing, whatever that's going to be, now the amount of money isn't there yet until there's another impetus. So now you already have this business, you're already in place, but the money isn't necessarily available for you now to be able to take in. Yeah, you got a piece of this pie, but the pie just shrank. So it's
Right.
like you were hoping for that big pie, and it's like, no, actually, now you got a little mini version. It's like you got a piece of that if you want, but that's all
Yeah.
you're getting.
And at the end of the
I
day, there's only so much pie.
well, that's just it, yeah. And there was more before, but you're too late. Like you came late to the party, and now you get what you get. You're gonna have to accept it.
Yeah.
There was a good question here. Elite Hunters. If you had 10K to make a purchase, would it be one big card or several nice? I'm with Lou Rock. For 10K, for the kind of collecting that I do, for 10K, you could get a couple of nice pieces. You don't have to put all your eggs in one basket. Although obviously 10K, you can get a really nice copy of a card that you like. But there's enough stuff I feel like out there. Like I could get five $2,000 cards. It would be awesome. It'd be a nice little mini collection in and of itself. You could do really well with that, I think.
Yeah, for me, I'm the type of guy like I rarely have 10K. So if I did happen to have 10K, I may go for the one big card because
Sure.
that's it's tough to acquire those cards. And if you are at a point where you have all that money that you're able to spend at once, um, yeah, I mean that's kind of a thing that I would do for sure.
I'm just wondering now at this point if there is a card that I would want in the collection necessarily for one of the projects I'm working on that
Hmm.
actually is 10K. Like outside of just getting a higher graded version. Like,
Sure.
okay, like I've got some 50s baseball sets and I've got some Mantles in there. So I could get to 10K by getting a higher graded copy of the card I already have. But it's
Yeah.
like, do I necessarily need that if I actually have a copy already? So that'd be kind of, I don't know if I can get to 10K unless I just go out of my way to spend it.
Yeah, and then if you go like if you're a Mantle guy, I mean the 52, I mean you can't even get any grade really for 10K of that
Yeah.
card. So you'd
Yeah.
have to have that's there is kind of like this there's a lot fewer cards that are in this like middle price range anymore. There's like stuff that's either really low or really high, and it's kind of like the middle stuff is it's either going one way or the other, and there's just not a ton of it left in the middle sometimes.
Well, I think the part of the reason I say that it would be tricky for me to find that card is only because As I went along, I got pickier and pickier about which projects I wanted to take on. So it's
Sure.
not that if I felt like I wanted to be more ambitious and I said, okay, I want to do a run of 50s Bowman, all of it. Well, then we can find cards in there that will qualify. We got to have the
Yeah.
Mantle rookie, right? So we could definitely get up in there and get a decent quality card for that if we want to do that. But I don't actually like 51 Bowman. I don't actually enjoy the way the set looks and everything. It's a cool card. It's an iconic card. But if I don't like the set, well, then I'm literally
Yeah.
getting it just to have it and say that I have a Mantle rookie.
Do you not like the 51s because of the horizontal look?
No, it's honestly the design never really worked for me.
Okay.
Between the two, 52 I like slightly better because I just like the way that the pictures are a little bit more for me personally.
Hmm.
But in 53, the color photographs, love that. 54, I always appreciate it, even though it's a little duller by compared to 53. And the 55 Bowman TV set, I like that set. I just like the way it looks. So 53, 54, and 55. Well, two of those I've completed, and the third one I'm working on.
Yeah, the 55 is one that it's kind of like one of those sets where people either love it or hate it.
Mhm.
And I'm one of those people. I really like it too.
Yeah.
It's kind of quirky, I guess, and different.
Well, you
So
have to think in 1955, a color TV was a novelty. They were literally giving an homage to, like, actually in 1955, if you happen to have a color TV, that was kind of significant. That's kind of important.
yeah. And to Lou Rock's point here, he says first I have to buy a card.
True.
I've made a commitment. I
To buy a
made a
card?
commitment to my friend JT a couple of months ago. Like he had me on his podcast, and I had to make a commitment to him that I would buy not one but two cards at the National. Now we didn't specify price.
I was literally going to say, you're going to go to the dollar bin and grab the first two cards off?
I
$2?
mean,
Done and done.
I will at least have to do that.
You can handle
So
that within the first 30 seconds of you walking onto the floor.
I mean, that's a nice angle that I could take if I choose to go that way. I mean, ultimately, I would like to because I think right now it's going to be a good buyer show. I think the National. So if I can find a few of the things that I really want to get, I think the prices will probably be right for me to buy. But
Mm-hmm.
that you just never know it doesn't matter how big of a show you go to. If you go in looking for like a few specific things, I mean, it's just, you know, you're just like looking for a needle in a haystack still because six, 700 tables or whatever, however many they have at a show, in the grand scheme of things of the entire hobby world, that's not that many people.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Let me just see a couple of comments here. Ron Perry says I get a 51 Mantle PSA 1. Completely fair. So that would
So,
work. Elite Hunters is one nice Maze rookie. So again, 51 Bowman. There's another vote for that one. This the break sold two Hank rookies when he was a kid for 75 apiece. It's unfortunate. It happens. Such is the way if it's during time passes. Justin Sports Card Museum is just get them all. Money can always be made. That historically has been my approach. I would just throw money into the collection. I didn't really bother selling much of it. That's why I say my ROI on my collection is super negative over the years. I'd have to do a lot of selling to kind of catch back up, but it happens. Staven Sports Card, 55 Moment is my favorite 50 set. I know it's a hot take, but it screams 50s to me. I don't think it's that hot a take. I think it makes sense. I agree with the color TV thing. That one was the first of the Bowman sets I completed. I completed the 55 Bowman set because I liked them. Huge fan of it. And that's why I went after that one first. 54 Bowman, I always appreciated it. Again, it's the less exciting version at that time period. But it came off the 53 where they spent a good chunk of money. They just
yeah,
didn't have the money.
I see Victor, his ears must have been burning when we were talking about all the different rookie cards.
Yep.
He came in with the super chat.
Yep.
Thanks, Victor.
Thank you, Victor. Appreciate it. Yep.
55 Bowman is great. And that's coming from Alex Bowman 53. So if a Bowman 53 guy likes 55, that's saying something, right?
Yeah. Well, 53 Bowman color is the next one that I'm working on. I've been picking up, like I've been putting it on Instagram. I'm picking up. Now, mind you, I did Pee Wee Reese early because I went
Mm-hmm.
after the bigger cards early. So I'm actually it's probably going to end up being a common. That's going to be my last card to finish that off. But I've always loved that set.
Have you ever seen Alex's set that he completed?
Yeah, I've enjoyed the quality of his videos is top notch. I do enjoy the videos.
Yeah, and I mean he put together a really nice looking set, and it just goes to show that you don't have to go after the highest grade cards to put together a really nice looking set. And like with your 53 set that you're going after, like what kind of grades are you looking for, if any particular at all, or just eye view?
It's mostly eye appeal. It's stuff
Yeah.
that I'm looking for stuff that fits. Like I think my Mantle is a 1.5, so PSA 1.5. I've got a couple of BVGs. I've got a 4 BVG, a 2.5 BVG. So I don't mind getting BVG, even though Eric, curses off in the distance.
Yes.
But and that's okay. I like making him curse off in the distance. That's fun. But for now, and I don't mind switching out the holder later on. But it's not something I'm going to throw money at right now. It's like I'll wait until the right time. But as long as the card looks good, I can accept creases and stuff. As long as the image looks clean, I like that. And if it's centered, that's a bonus. I think Bowman 53 can attest that those are actually hard to find well centered. That's a tough issue for that. So if you can find it, that's an extra little piece, regardless of grade. If you can find it as clean, centered, nice.
Yeah, and I've always found too, like if you're buying a graded card for a set, it always seems to me like the half grades provide like a little bit extra value because they often go overlooked. And a lot of times like there's a pretty decent eye appeal difference between like a 7 and a 7.5, but the price difference is usually not there.
Mm-hmm.
So I've always found those to be nice looking cards.
Yeah, I would say just play around with it. Like, just find that spot. And like I said, I'll take any excuse to talk some vintage baseball because I usually get pigeonholed into hockey no matter what. It's like,
Right,
I know
yeah,
I'm in Canada, but come on, I've been collecting vintage for 30 years.
Yeah, we were joking about that earlier. I think everybody just assumes anyone from Canada just likes hockey, right?
Well, the thing is, I collect hockey. I definitely do. Like, it's a big chunk of my collection, but it's like, I have complete 50s baseball sets. I have a 56 top set. It's not high condition, but it's my set, and I like it.
What is your favorite vintage baseball card that you own?
56 top Mantle. Favorite set, favorite image, the whole thing. That's my absolute favorite. 53 Topps Mantle is my second because I love the paintings on that. The 53 Bowman color I love and I appreciate. After I get further along in that one, I've been accumulating 53 Topps cards for a while. But that's a bigger challenge. There's some more big cards in that one. The Mays, the Jackie Robinson, the Satchel Paige. I'm like, all right, I got enough. I can only work on one project seriously at a time. Let me chip away at it. I'll get to a certain point and we'll move on.
Yeah. Yeah. James Elite Hunter says the struggle for centering is real. That's so true with some of these vintage sets. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what is going to be the next project for you? Or have you started one recently that you're just kind of getting going on, or do you have one in mind?
Yeah. Well, the 53 Bowman color is the project right now that I've started. I've got 63 Fleer baseball also kind of going in the background. Although that's the first one I decided to try to do all graded. So
Yeah.
I've got maybe about 25 out of the I want to say 67 cards in that set. It's a small checklist, so it actually makes it a little bit easier. That's not so bad.
And you picked up a good number of those at the expo, right?
Yeah, they had a whole bunch at a showcase, and they were willing to. Now, mind you, they weren't willing to do like a big. I'm like, dude, I'm buying like 20 of these. Give me a break. Move the price down a little bit. I was able to make it work. It was fine, but yeah, that's a fun project because it still has some good players in it. Koufax and Clemente and a couple of other great players that got in there still. And then we got Maury Wills. So like some solid ones. Obviously it wasn't as good as it should have been because Topps put the clamp down on that. We didn't get a series 2 of that one. But it's a cool set. But 53 Bowman color. And then hopefully I want to get far enough along where I'm comfortable that we're on the downslope of that. Then I want to go back to working on the 53 Topps baseball because that's going to be a tough one. That's going to be a good one.
Yeah, I think Mays is in the Fleer set, right?
Yep, and I have the Mays, so I've been able to pick that one up. I think I'm looking for a Clemente and probably a Koufax, but I want to get a couple of those. But I picked up a bunch of the commons in the show, so that was just easier, but the pricing was right.
So overall, I kind of get the vibe that you're more of a Mantle than Mays guy. Is that right?
Yeah, I do. I think the whole thing, and I hate the Yankees. The great irony of it is that I hate the Yankees. But I appreciate that he represented that era very well. I respect Mays. Like, as an overall player, Mays was great. But the problem of the comparison between the two guys, and by the way, it was a fair comparison. I respect it. But the problem is that Mays in 51 hurt his leg. And then he spent the rest of his career relatively hobbled. Like, he lost part of his game. And he still retired with, like, amongst the top home run leaders at the time he retired. And obviously the other guys would pass him going forward. But Mays could do everything. So it's one of those things you have to respect it. Aaron, I think, kind of gets downgraded a little bit. They kind of forget about him a little bit, but I was like, the guy's 3,700 hits. If I took away all his home runs, he still has 3,000 hits. Yeah. The hitting award is the Hank Aaron Award because he was a hitter, and he did it forever. He did it for over 20 years. He had a fall off, but his fall off came right at the end. Like, even into his 40s and his late 30s, he was still producing at a good level. Like, he was still solid.
Yeah, and he does get overshadowed quite a bit. Like, it's funny because you mentioned that you hate the Yankees.
And I do.
And Mike Moynihan, like his favorite player of all time is Lou Gehrig. He also hates the Yankees.
Hmm.
It's funny how that works though. Like there's a lot of people that I know that like some of the great Yankee players, but not necessarily the Yankees. Why
You
is
can respect the player. You can definitely still respect the player. Now, the modern Yankees, screw them all. I don't care about anyone.
that?
But and then a lot of those 90 Yankees, well, double screw them all. Hey, I really hate those guys. But the classic Yankees, the all time, the Mantles and the Ruth and the Gehrig, yeah, you can give them respect. Absolutely.
Big shout out to Josh, rated rookie, threw in the super chat there.
Awesome. Thank you.
Appreciate it, Josh.
Oh,
Man, look at who all we got in here, man. We got a lot of people that I recognize from your streams in here.
there you go. Yeah. I did give him at least a little bit of a heads up, at least a little ahead of time, so that was good. So I'll touch on Ron Perry's comment here.
Yeah.
Poor 53 Bowman color, black and white. People treat it like it isn't even a set. I kind of want to grab that one. The problem is it's lower on the priority list. The advantage is that it's not as expensive. I could be mistaken. I feel like the big card with that one is the Casey Stengel, which isn't too bad. Like it's available. It's available at a decent price. Again, find one nicely centered. But yeah, the black and white photography just isn't as nice, and that's why it kind of gets downgraded a little bit. Uh, Again, if Bowman hadn't run out of money, probably that would have been like another color series, to be fair, and I think it would have taken it up that notch. But it gets kind of forgotten. But I will probably go back and go after it after the 53 tops is going to take more of my resources and time first. I'm like, I'll come back to you.
I think Alex crushes it with this comment here where he says, not a fan of the Yankees, but totally respect their history. Incredible players and stories. I think that's kind of where a lot of people are. They're just not really a fan of the Yankees, but they love the history and the players for sure. Yeah. Ken's Cardboard says, wow, a lot of hate for the Yankees. Yeah.
Of course.
Hey,
but you know what the best part is about the hate for the Yankees, though? Do you know what the best
Yeah.
part is? If I ever have a particularly obnoxious Yankee fan, I can remind them, it's like, we got 27 championships. Like, cool. How many of them after 1965? And they're like, they have to do some quick math and go, 7. It's like 7 in about 50 years. Listen, it's good, but it's like it's not quite
It's
dynastic.
still not bad. I mean, that's
no. I'm not saying no, but I'm saying you have to spread it out because if you
Yeah.
actually think about it, after the 60s, they win 2 in the 70s. You know, that's the Reggie Jackson era. You know, Ron Guidry, those guys, great, and they were contenders into the early 80s. And absolutely, they were still solid, but they didn't win again until 96. Then you've got that group with Jeter and those guys. So they win, I think, was it 4 or 5? I'm gonna say 5.
I think 5.
Yeah, and that takes you to 2009. Well,
Yeah.
we're now in 2022. They haven't won in 13 years. They had that run where they won the 5 in the Jeter era, and then we have to go back to the 70s. Well, I wasn't born in 1977, so I can't help you there. So it's like in my lifetime. Next year I turn 40, and like the Yankees have won a certain amount of championships within a compressed time period. But if I get rid of that, it's like actually you don't win that much. Not anymore.
They haven't had a drought quite like the Dallas Cowboys, but
That's a different level. That's a different conversation entirely.
I was like, as long as we're beating up the Yankees, let's beat up the Cowboys a little bit too, right?
I have no moral opposition, man. No moral opposition. I don't really I don't have the personal dislike of them, the disdain to the same degree, because the thing is the problem is the Jays have been in the Yankees division forever, so it's like they're literally in the way. So it's like I can see them all the time. The Cowboys don't bother me as much day to day, but they're there.
I see our good friend Mike, Canadian Cards in the chat. What's up, Mike? I see Scott, Scotty Tradition.
Awesome.
Great guy. $10 on the super chat. Appreciate it, Scott.
Sounds good. Awesome.
I'm kind of disappointed, Scott. I got to tell you, man. I was hoping to see you at the National this year, but I get it, man. And I guess that's something we can kind of talk about a little bit. It's
Sure.
like there's a lot of people that obviously that are going to the National, and there's a lot of people that I would typically expect to be there that aren't going to be there. And obviously there's a variety of, different reasons for that. But as someone like you've never been, right?
No.
But are you planning on going next year?
Well, right now that is the plan because that's what we were chatting about.
Yeah.
But I said kind of in our conversation, it was funny because some people talked to me about the conversation we had because they enjoyed it. They thought it was very fun. You provided one side of the conversation, but we had a good discussion. It was a fun discussion.
Yeah.
I think it was good for everybody. And the problem is that when it comes to a lot of the card shows, I am planning on it because I think it would be good to see it, to experience it, to participate in it.
Yeah.
Every year that went by, though, for me, it's one of those things where I'll plan it out. I'll try to get everything in order lined up. But I joke with my buddy. I go, listen, if the wind changes direction in a way I don't like, I'm out. Like I'm so lightly attached to this idea. Like every year that goes by, I care less and less about the National. But I am interested in participating. I'm happy to go there and check it out and hang out and say hey to people. But it's like it's almost like the stars have to align perfectly for me to even bother. It's like
You're
getting on a plane, nah, whatever.
you're committed like LeBron James to an NBA team.
He's more committed to an NBA team than I'm committed to the national. LeBron James has at least gone to an NBA team.
No, but I mean, like, I totally get, like, especially this year because the cost of everything is sky high.
Yeah, yeah,
It's not the easiest place to get to, obviously,
yeah.
and I always kind of explain it this way to people, like, if you're going to a show like that, especially where you're having to travel across the country, if you're like if you're on the West Coast or whatever, and you're going with the intention of like your whole goal is to just make good deals, like you're excited because yeah, I might be able to buy this $50 card for $35 or something. I mean, the math doesn't add up. That's not the reason that we all go to it. Like, to us, it's just more of like an event. You just kind of treat it like you would a vacation. Like, if you go to Disney World or wherever, you're not going because you think it's a good value for your money necessarily. You're just going for the overall experience of it. And, any good deals that come out of it are just, bonuses.
No, I agree with you. But that's why I say, like, because to your point, I do have to treat it like a vacation.
Yeah.
To me, I have to think about the whole totality of it. Yes, I'm interested in walking the floor and chatting with some people. Like, there's value to that. But
Sure.
like, I'm very calculated about this. I assign that a value in my head. Like, I know what that's worth to me. But then I'm like, okay, so where is it? Okay, AC. Well, then outside of that show, then you're offering me nothing. So like,
Yeah.
so I can't add that to it. So then what's it worth? Not a heck of a lot. So AC as a venue is straight out for me. But Chicago, okay, I would be a guy who would try to go to a Cubs game or something. Like, but that adds value to me. That means it gives me something else that I can do while I'm there to check it out because I'm not going to be on the floor every day.
Yeah.
I know that. I don't need to see every table, so I don't really care. That's the reason why when I do the Toronto Expo, I'm really lackadaisical about it. I have fun with it. I have a good time. I go around and chat with folks and everything. It's great. But it's like I come in late. Why? Because I can. I don't need to run it. Oh man, what if you miss a deal? That's okay. Like a moment ago, you just said it's not necessarily about the card. Well, then why do I care if I miss a deal? I don't have to run then at the beginning of the day. I can have brunch, casually stroll in at my leisure.
No, and it's one of those things, like, I totally get it. Like, when people, like, I don't expect, people to be able to go every year because it's expensive and like it's time consuming and all that.
Yeah.
But I will say that once you've been once, you may not go every year, but you want to go every year. And I think that's the way a lot of people are. Like, they don't necessarily go every year, but they want to because it's just so much fun. Like, I think Canadian Cards, Mike said it here the best. He said the National is just a great excuse for a guy's getaway. That's basically the best way to describe it, I think.
They just want to make you blind me with Refractors. It's just an excuse to get your fan club together. I know what the score is.
Yeah. Oh man, appreciate it, Eric. 4-leaf cards, $10 donation. He says no Yankees championships is worth $10 all day long. Thanks for a great chat.
He speaks for a lot of us. He speaks for a lot of us. Correctly so.
Exactly. Yeah, but there, and every year it's like the number of people that in the hobby, it grows. So, you'll meet people and you'll talk to people here on YouTube, and some of them you've already met, and then others, you just kind of look forward to adding to that group every year, and it's just a lot of fun. Like, I really think you'll enjoy it when you do go next year.
I was going to say, don't commit me to next year. You never know if the wind changes direction. If the flags suddenly go boom the opposite way. Like, I tried, y'all. I tried. The wind changed direction. What do you want from me?
Ken's Cardboard says, my wife would send me just so she can have the house for herself.
That could be a valid excuse. Listen, that sounds to me like a sponsorship, an indirect sponsorship.
There's even value in it for the spouses. Like, they get rid of you for a while.
Perhaps that could be a pitch for some folks, yes. That could be just like, well, then I don't have to be here and for this period of time, and you don't have to deal with me. Sold.
Here's an interesting one. I haven't even thought about this. DR says one of the underreported facts in the hobby is the cost of supplies have drastically decreased. Have you noticed that? I haven't even bought.
So one touches, I've definitely noticed. There was a moment in time where one touches really went crazy. Is an example. Top loaders a little bit as well. I feel like they've stabilized back to more normal price point. Not all the way back down necessarily, but you can definitely get a lot of those supplies for what like I feel is a more reasonable price now. So I do agree with DR on that. I do feel I'm sensing it because I was getting really gouged on supplies a lot there in 2020 and 2021.
Yeah.
It feels like because now I can go and make like because I've got a store that's far enough, but it's online and I can just have them ship me stuff. But I can buy a bunch of stuff supplies wise, and it's not so bad. It's been okay.
Yeah, lots of great comments in here, guys. And if you missed the beginning of our stream, like I had to explain, like since Mike Baseball Collector, he's been running the comments, putting them on the screen from behind the scenes. Like we don't have access to do that. We can still see all your comments, but we just can't post them on the screen. Otherwise, I would have posted a lot of these because there's a lot of great stuff in here.
Yeah, let me grab a couple of these because there's a couple of good
Yeah,
ones here in a row.
go ahead and let us.
So
let us
right,
in
so
on
first
stuff.
Scotty says it's so much about the people for me. I only purchased one item 3 days last year. Looking at tables and buying stuff is far second to chilling with the guys. Completely fair. And then Paul here, I know Paul. So if Carlos can commit to the 2023 National, there's beer and cheese curds from his favorite vintage F1 collector. Yes, he is the vintage F1 collector. You can keep the cheese curds. I don't really need those. I don't need poutine over here either. However, I will take free beer. That you're leaning the right way to try to bribe me. Free beer is a good way to bribe me. Is all I'm saying. It's a good way.
I already offered to buy you.
But
first
look,
round.
I'm taking them all. Like I don't think you understand. Like I'll take them all.
Yeah, I didn't offer any cheese curds. I was unaware.
The cheese curds is not a plus. The cheese curds, it's a net neutral with the beer. Like it offsets, but I appreciate the sentiment. And then Eric here, my family sends me to Canada and pays Carlos to watch over me. This is true. And frankly, I'm gonna have to ask for more in the fall, because after dealing with you last time, like, do you have any idea how difficult it is to expunge criminal records on the side? Do you have any idea how many palms we had to grease to make sure that it is not known of your activities, sir? There's still paperwork to this day. To this day.
Lots of great guys in here. Don's Field of Dreams, Picker Jim. Lots of great guys. And then, of course, Eric Sanderson to Orr.
Questionable. Question mark.
Well, I said lots of great guys and Eric.
Correct. Facts.
Okay.
Facts.
All right. Yeah. So what else do you got? Do you want to talk about, Carlos? We have probably like 13, 14 minutes. I mean, you could probably go another 5 or 6 hours, but they're gonna cut us off in about 14 minutes, literally.
I could, yeah. So I'll read a couple of these here. Mike Baseball Country went to get a beer. No, Mike's off. He's indisposed for the moment. He'll be back. Yeah, Andy here says, Carlos, I'm in 100%. Why the National is definitely going to. Man, I'm getting a lot of pressure on this one. The 2023. Now, what? Usually it's the end of July, right?
Yeah.
Oh man, so you know what that means? After the National will be just after I turn 40. Double bonus.
Wow.
Like, my birthday's in July, so it'll be just before that.
So like a birthday party kind of thing.
I guess so. Yeah, it kind of stretches out.
Yeah,
I used to have a manager at work that actually had my exact same birthday, so we got double cake one year. It was great. Always a bonus. Yeah. No, I think we can touch on this a little bit, just because it's kind of open ended. I'm finding that right now I've got my projects and things I'm working on. That's fun. And I've never had trouble finding fun in the hobby. That's what's been kind of interesting. Up or down, I've always find my angles and my lanes to have some fun. We chatted about UFC because that's a category that I enjoy and I have fun with. So it's one of those things. I enjoy things outside of the main branches. Yeah. Vintage baseball has been my bread and butter for years. My Medano collection, certain specific hockey thing, of course. These are my staples. These are my go-to, my baseline. Everything builds off of that. But I do other stuff. And one of the things I'm having fun with a little bit, and actually I'll give you a little shout out on this one. I was doing a little bit of research, a little digging. I've gotten back into watching a little bit of streaming poker because I was a big poker fan during the poker boom.
Love it.
Chris Moneymaker 03, and then Greg Raymer 04, and then 05, I think was Joe Hashem, and 06 was the Jamie Gold, who was weirdo. Complete weirdo.
Awful. Just awful.
Yeah, but he was ridiculously bad at poker, but it was funny. However, that was like my golden era. That was towards the end of my university years, when that whole thing happened. And I was playing a lot of online poker. I remember a lot of stuff from that. And I will have more stories about that because I recently acquired a cup on eBay. Speaking of eBay, I've gone in and bought a bunch of cheap autographs from the '06 Razor poker set. And I'll explain where the shadow comes in. I was doing a little research. I wanted to check it out. And who has a box break of '06 Razor poker set? She blinded me with Refractors.
I still have a box of it too.
Yeah, I was actually looking though. One thing is that a lot of the cards seem to stick together. I actually wanted to buy a box, and I was like, I hate this. I hate the bricking. And outside of the autograph, it's not that interesting. So it's like, you know what? But there are 38 cards in the autograph set. I'm like, I kind of want to do it.
And they're pretty cheap. They're really cheap.
Yeah, because I think it's Hellmuth and the Ground. But my point is, people don't have to care about poker cards. That's not my point. Yeah. My point is, find stuff that's fun for you. Those are cheap, relatively speaking. They're not that expensive. But here's the
Yeah.
thing: when I went through the checklist, it's like I know this person, I know this person, I know this. Because when I was watching and really focusing in on it, I'm like, I remember these. And what inspired me about it was that in the World Series of Poker's happening right now. They're doing all the events. Phil Ivey was in a final table recently to potentially win an 11th bracelet, and I was like, awesome. And I went and I started watching the live stream he was doing. He fell just short, but I just remember watching a lot of it. It was so much fun, and I was like, this is great. I remember the old days when I was watching a lot of Phil Ivey and Phil Hellmuth and a lot of that. I was like, this is great, fantastic.
I mean, poker during that time period, it was on TV all the time.
Absolutely. I was watching World Poker Tour. I was watching the ESPN thing. At that point, there were you had to, if you wanted to get a lot of the stuff that didn't make it onto TV or that you couldn't catch again. We didn't have PVRs, so it's like you had to download them, videos of them on sites. Moving on.
Yeah, and like maybe when you show off some of your autographs, maybe you could go into like if you want to go into like all the online poker stuff whenever you show those, like talk about the difficulties of the deposit versus
Yes. We'll double it because I'm doing it from Canada, right?
yeah.
So I have to, because they started blocking a lot of different cards that you would try to use to load up the accounts. It's gotten a lot easier. But the thing is, here's the thing. I have very fond memories of that period playing poker because at that point everybody wanted to play, and then I think I still got like a set of chips and stuff. And like from the time we had a table and we were playing regularly and all that. And I still like to play. And when I was in Vegas last time, I went in and I was like, let me play in some small poker tournaments and stuff. Let me have some fun with it. I still enjoy that game. So I actually enjoy watching it because I'm like, I want to see what the hell you're doing. Because I'm curious.
That is actually one of the good things about the National being in Atlantic City is there are several of us that I know that we like to play poker. So we'll definitely be playing some poker. We may even have like a home game. I know Josh and I joked about like using some Gavin Lux and Kobe White slabs as chips.
Well, you can use so 357 there is making a good point. You can use Trout cards as $1 chips.
Yeah.
Just use 2011 Topps Update Trouts. Use those as $1 chips. That's about what they're worth these days, right?
I think actually Josh was
right
telling me. I think Josh was telling me that Gavin Lux we could use those as chips, and then I was like, well, maybe like a coaster.
Yeah, pretty much.
His slabs. I don't even know. I mean, I don't even know if there's a denomination of chip low enough at this point.
Listen, if this hobby correction had gone on longer, I actually would have bought a 2011 Topps Update Trout and used it as a coaster on a video. I'd be like, oh, here we go. Using it for what it's worth. Here you go.
Oh man, isn't that funny? Breaking news: the Astros throw a combined no-hitter against the Yankees.
Nice.
Right
I
as
like
we
it.
were just talking up the Yankees so much earlier.
I know, it's true. It's
How
true.
much we love them.
Yep. And there's something about cards, so that's Yannick. Thanks for keeping me company while working. Good vibes. Thank you, Yannick. Appreciate it.
Hey, Yannick.
Lou Rock, that's how I learned how to play poker. Yeah, it was a good time. Honestly, it was fun. I'll be completely honest. It was fun. Because at that point, like, a lot of stuff they were doing on TV was new, really. Just showing the whole cards, showing what your people were doing. I like the game because it's strategic. You don't have to have the best cards to win. That's what I thought, like, set that game apart from a lot of other things. It's like, actually, you can be behind and still find a way to get the other person to fold, and you win.
I love that. You can tell Ron Perry, he's a poker guy because he said, I used to watch poker back when Stu Unger was making his comeback.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
You know
I think
Stu-
the last
you know
one was
Stu Unger.
98. I want to say
Yeah.
98. Yeah.
If you know Stu Unger, you've liked poker for a while.
Yeah.
Like, he was huge.
That's what's funny though, because that's why I say the Phil Ivey thing was an amazing callback, because he's in a 3-way tie with guys with 10 bracelets, and it's basically Doyle Brunson, Phil Ivey, and I think Johnny Chan. Those are the 3 guys, and then Hellmuth is right now the guy at the top of the mountain. But these guys are in a 3-way deadlock, and Phil Ivey is really the only one who's really still active. So he's the only one who can potentially bump up. Again, it's not a sport, but like he could move second all time in bracelets because he's one of the only guys right now in that spot.
Oh, Mike says he is back. I just saw the private chat here.
Good stuff.
Mike, if you wouldn't mind, if you're back, could you throw up like a couple of the comments, and maybe if you could post like the comments of the people that left the super chats, if you can go back, or if you can't, that's fine. But I just wanted the people that donated to definitely, get their name on the screen and get credit for that, because that's awesome.
Yep, absolutely. Perfect.
Yeah, there we go. Ray,
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it. And I'll just read it while he's doing that. I'll read it. So Ken's Cardboard goes, isn't a Trout 2011 update under 2K now? Yeah, it's around 2K, but that's still like $1,995 too high. Like, I want it for the melt price of the plastic. If we can do the melt price of the plastic on the PSA, then that's cool. It's kind of high, you know?
Man, what a Trout hater. Like, I mean, I know there's like, I mean, like, of course, I
Do
love
you want to
Russell.
ask me, though? I've gotten this question before. Do you want to ask me what percentage of it I'm being serious and what percentage of it I'm just trolling for trolling's sake?
I have a good idea.
All right, what do you think? What do you think the percentage is?
I'm gonna say it's like 75% trolling, 25 serious.
You're close. You're very close. You're very close.
What is the actual percentage?
It's probably closer to like 85% trolling.
Okay.
Yeah, I can. So I'm only going to do this one because it's not my live stream. So it's not canon. It doesn't count. So basically, I once I got off on it, once I started doing the Trout thing, it was so much fun. And some people get so mad. So I was like, oh, well, I'm pushing this button whenever I want.
Yeah.
I can appreciate him as a great player. I've always thought that people putting him in the all-time right now is stupid. It doesn't make any sense to me. I'm like, let him finish. We'll evaluate him when he's done. When he's done, I'm willing to look at this case and let's just look at it. Just say he's a great player today, and when he's healthy, he plays very well. But he also does have injury issues. Just acknowledge the problem and also say if he is able to stay healthy long enough and continue to build up the stats with the rest of it, then he will be an all-time great player. But today, he is on the path. If you want to stay on the path, fine. Great. Sounds good.
That's today's world though. It's all speculation. Like if we're just talking cards, like we just saw this with Steph Curry. It's all about the speculation. And then like let's say like a lot of people that are looking at this from a financial perspective,
Yeah.
they're talking about betting on a player, right? So you bet on a player to do something, and then by the time that he actually does the thing, he goes down because there's been so much buildup in the speculation of him doing something.
Yeah. And that's
Like
the thing.
Curry
Like,
wins the title, and then starts going down.
exactly. That's the thing. Like, I'm willing to legitimately review his resume when it's complete. If you want to compare him to the all-time greats, great. The all-time greats have their resumes complete. I was listening on a conversation, and I like the guys that were having the conversation. And one of them I was asking the question, is like, is Pujols a better like hitter through 11 years? He's used 11 years. It's a specific cutoff to match it with Trout. And the other guy was like, yeah. And I'm like, no, Pujols through 11 years was dominant. Pujols 11 years is his St. Louis years. Like he was killing it. So like, don't try to compare them as hitters. If you want to say he's a more complete player because he played the field better, fine, great, no problem. I get it. Pujols also had 3 MVPs through 11 years. Give the man his props. He hit almost 330 in 11 years. He had 445 home runs. The dude was an offensive beast through 11 years. Give him his credit.
Pujols has had the misfortune of the last 7 to 8 years of his career have been so bad that people forgot how good he was and how dominant he was.
But going back to the Trout point, what if he suddenly goes in the tank for another 7 or 8 years? For the rest of his contract, what if he just suddenly sucks?
Is that a hot take? Are we taking
No, but I'm asking the question because Picker Jim here says if Trout hung it up today, he's a Hall of Famer. But what if he plays 7 more years and he's just mediocre for 7 years?
He'd still be a Hall of Famer.
I understand. But what happens to the conversation at that point? Oh man, he hasn't been good in years.
No, he's not going to be like viewed the way he is now if he goes.
Correct.
Yeah,
and that's how quickly the narrative shifts. That's what I say. Let it play out. Let's look at it in its totality. We'll add it up, and then we'll see where everybody ranks.
Yeah, but we don't want to do that. We want to speculate everything to the moon. Like this guy's going to be the best ever.
Yeah, exactly. That's just the thing, though. Like that's why I say, like, my original pushback was on looking at the silliness of it. I was just like, chill out, relax.
That's why I like collecting players that have no chance of ever being considered the best ever.
So you collect Mike Trout?
There's no pressure.
so you collect Mike Trout?
No pressure.
Back on. Switch back on.
Yeah. Lou Rock says padding his stats. Okay.
I don't mind you padding your stats if you're going for almost 700 home runs. Try it. Like it's actually hard to get to that level.
Here's a good one here. Miggy, Pujols, or Trout, first 11 to 12 years.
Question: as a hitter or overall? Because as a hitter, I'm taking Pujols. If it's a hitter, I'm taking Pujols because Pujols was ridiculous. Miggy was really great as well. He did win a Triple Crown as well. So it's like as a hitter, also elite. Look, out of those 3 guys, Trout's the worst hitter of the 3. Period. End of story. If you want to say he's the best player because he was also a very good fielder, fine, no problem. I can accept that. I think that's good.
Yeah. I mean, I would probably say Pujols better hitter, but yeah, Trout definitely better player
Yeah,
overall.
and that's what I say. Like Pujols played first base.
But it was
Pujols,
close though during that time period because I mean, Pujols, like if you see him play the last few years, I mean, like the guy can't move at all. I mean, he was never like super fast, but I mean, he was a lot
yeah,
more agile than he is now.
and that's just it. So it's one of those things. Like I am okay if you want to put the whole thing, put it in its totality. We're good. I can accept. Listen, I will give you that credit. No problem. I'll give it to you.
Carlos, I knew this time was coming. Mike has told us that we must wrap it up. Five
Terrible.
hours short of your goal of 6 hours. So
And in
thanks,
the after
Carlos.
party, and if the after party that will be unrecorded, I will project Trout's the rest of his career, and that is canon. Unfortunately, it's not recorded because we're out of time.
I appreciate you coming on, Carlos. This has been a lot of fun. Thanks, everybody in the chat. All the super chats were awesome. All the questions were awesome. I think we have Sports Card Live coming up next. So we will catch you guys later.